I'm sure if we were to tell the truth, MK is the youngest political party, just 1 year old, but it has been able to attract the feelings and the wishes of the South African population. The very fact that we are now a formal opposition, that tells you a very good story about Mkhonto Wesizwe. It's simple to take over the governing of the country. That is our immediate objective that we want to make as soon as possible. I was going to come to that, but since we want it now, yes, ANC that I joined is not the ANC that I left. It was a different kind of an ANC. I can say painful things about it. I don't think that is the way to deal with the matter. But to answer your question briefly, yes, the ANC that I joined, that I was prepared to die, that I went in prison for 10 years for, I went into exile for 14 and a half years. It's not the ANC that I left a few years ago. It is a fact. I was trying to make the picture become very clear. That when I joined the ANC, I was clear that I'm prepared to die to liberate my country. And once my country is liberated, how this country will be, how it will be governed, is as clear as anything. I don't want to tell you many other things. Being the former president, I was in a conference where I pulled my hand to make a contribution. And deliberately, I was avoided until I could not put across what I thought. That was not the ANC. In the ANC, every member had the right to speak his mind or her mind. That's no longer the ANC I can talk about. So I don't want to dwell in those because it will make me discuss too many other things that are not that important.
Okay.
Because what I'm trying to say is that the reason why I took a decision is because the ANC was no longer the ANC I knew.
So what is the difference?
I could no longer put an opinion, even if when I put my opinion, it was put aside. And therefore, that is not the ANC. Was not the believing of the ANC that you can be deprived of your views as it is. I wouldn't want to get into that because the point I thought it was important was to say we reached a point where you could no longer do what you were doing when we were ready to die because we were no longer allowed to speak. The kind of leadership that emerged were wrong leadership. Perhaps if you'll be still around when I write my book, you must read it. I might be saying more things in details. What happened to the African National Congress of Tambo Mandela. You know, if you just look at the GNU, it tells you the whole history. That we are dealing with the ANC leadership that could no longer differentiate between the oppressor and the oppressed. Because it is a fact. Has been the opposition all the time. The ANC move to join them, leave everybody else who's suffering. That tells you how much they are no longer caring of the poor white, poor black, who still need to be freed. It tells you the story. What is worse, the DA actually says it in public. This is not like a government of national unity. It's a government of between the two, ANC and them. Simple. That was just done to wipe off people from thinking this is serious. That actually worsens the situation. There are many people who are leaving that organization because of DA. Because DA is part of what oppressed us for many years. Just switched a little bit when we're here in a nice name, Democratic Party, I don't know what it is.
Alliance.
Alliance, whatever. That in itself must be telling somebody who can think that this is a fast. It's not the real thing. It's not there. People who are there are finding a way out, the way out. Because DA is DA, it's doing his own. Mlungper, it's a white fellow. In fact, it is, in my view, a disappointing thing. Because you take those people, they know nothing about how you work for democracy or whatever. And they represent us all over the world. We who disagree with them a great deal, we now disagree with ANC. Totally disagree. Decision that they took, it's not a decision which represents us as the majority. It represents them, a black minority working with the whites. It's not us. I think ever since France came to colonize Africa, it has never made it better. If I talk about France, where this statement comes from. When France was decolonizing, they decided to leave the army, a powerful army, in any place that they were, in order to suppress them if they did anything. That was not thing for us to say thank you, because they did not do what they were supposed to do. They decided that the resources, money, will be determined in France on behalf of the Africans who were freed here. I don't know what France thinks about it. We should have said thank you very much to take our money and use it there and have the soldiers. This is what has led to the recent coups. So it's a wrong statement. I don't agree with it because it has not helped us. The thing that says we are helping you or whatever, not helping us, does not agree that we are free, we do what we want. People who have just conducted coup d'etats recently, because they say we can't have our money in France. We can't have the soldiers from France here when we have got our own. That in itself tells you the man is just talking. He does not know how black people have suffered from white people, particularly the French. So I don't even want to debate that one because it would take me to debate things that are too far. I'm busy dealing with the situation here, with the British in particular. Totally. In fact, it is too late. They should have done a long time ago. Because it is wrong. Why are the forces of a French country are stationed in Africa, in the country of somebody else? Why? It's because they think they are our fathers. And I think that time has come. We cannot longer wait for that. It is a powerful continent, only disturbed by the colonizers who are still colonizing us in a modern way. No, I think there is an old problem we have, that those who were oppressed many years ago are still oppressed. Those who feel they are very powerful, they are still using their power. For an example, the whole world looked at a country in the Middle East where buildings were bombed, small kids were killed, And the world, the civilized world, absolutely said nothing. Nothing. Even now, they are forcing other people to say they must accept the manner in which they present their story, how they must all come together. This is a problem that has faced the black people and also the people in the Middle East. That issue has never been resolved. Whether you have the United Nations, it has failed to deal with these matters. It's a fact. And therefore, I don't want to say, well, a nice man has spoken there, because they all talk around their own area of satisfaction. They're not worried about anybody else. And if you argue, they force you, they kill you. I think the President of the United States of America has said something with regard to the war in Russia, right? Very clear. I haven't heard him about the country we are referring to, whether there has been a clear thing that there must be the end of battles all over. However, he is one among the few who have said something that makes sense. I think he said, we cannot use our money to fight a war in Russia when we've got it to be building our country. There are not many who have said so, but he have said it. We take note of that because it is important. But as to the battles in the Middle East and the United States, I don't think I've heard very distinctly that there is somebody there who says this thing must come to an end. I haven't. Maybe I missed it. That is part of the problem we have. Part of the problem we have. Why should a country threaten countries in Africa as if he's talking to the small boys? You can't do this, I'm going to do X, Y, Z. Don't you see something wrong there? Why? Because a country should do what it wants to do. Whoever says so, that is a problem I have been talking about all the time. Because you have a country with its own resources and everything, which says these countries are my little ones. You can do this with somebody else, we are going to be in trouble. Why? There is totally something wrong in the manner in which big countries treat the countries that are small, the countries that are said to be probably not as big as whatever. Why should that happen? Why should a person threaten you when you take your own decision to have relations with some people? Then you must be taken into some problems. Why that? Why should that be the case? I don't think we need that. This is what we are saying as Africans. We don't need, you know, when South Africa joined BRICS, we haven't talked about those matters. It was very important because, among other things, was to deal with this very issue, that there are countries that must be like in prison. And because the West is, in a sense, dealing with these countries, and therefore there are countries that we cannot deal with. Now, it's not correct. It's not correct. BRICS brought something different to try to bring equality. Part of the reason, and I can tell you one day, not today, that there was a deliberate why you ended up with a war in Russia is because the Western countries were trying to put down BRICS. If you know what they did in Latin America, in Lula, He even went to prison when he had no case, a case that was established. This man he's out now because they decided to say, this little one let us deal with. In order to also disrupt this, they changed the party in India and forced that another party must come in so that you reduce the party that was joining BRICS, that was part of BRICS. I am an experience of that. Part of the reason I was removed before finishing my term was also to deal with BRICS. They put their newspapers or media to say China was going down, the economy, blah, 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 lies, and felt that Russia must be attacked. All of that is part of BRICS' coming into being. We haven't talked about those matters a lot because that has not been the issue to talk about. But I'm just saying, you deal with Western countries who are always causing trouble, who are always making other people get into trouble when it is not supposed to be. Now, what has happened to them? Because they attacked Russia, Russia said, sorry, we've got our oil here, and whoever wants our oil is going to use the Russian money. Do you know that changed the world somehow? Because many other countries thereafter began to say, we are going to BRICS. BRICS now has more, whether full members or not yet. Only if you have a grouping like BRICS can you bring this earth into sanity.
I'm glad
BRICS is moving, and we need BRICS. We need BRICS because BRICS is not colonizing. BRICS is doing business, relationship with everybody else. And I'm happy that many countries, that some countries in Africa, Middle East, have seen what needs to be done. That is going to make this world be a world with a kind of relationship that will make people not starve in other countries, whilst in other countries they don't know what to do with the money. I recently visited. I went for medical checkup when I was in Moscow or in Russia. It was a medical. And if I'm there, if I have a friend there, why can't I meet my friend if it is possible? I've got, in fact, a lot of friends in Russia,
President Putin?
as well as in the United States, as well as in Great Britain. I would have gone there also for medical work, but I chose to go to Russia.
Did you meet President Putin when you were there in Russia?
No, I didn't. I didn't.
Do you think there was political interference for you not to meet him?
No, we're not wanting to meet then. I had gone there for medical checkup. I'm sure if I'd wanted to see my friend, I would have seen my friend. I don't know whether I need to talk about that kind of thing because what I've said is a broader behavior of the world. It's not correct. It's not. Then, because they're big countries, blah, blah, blah. Then we have African continent, which is taken as being owned by countries from outside of Africa, which has leaders, some of which so weak that I wouldn't want to say anything. Even if they go, it's just a visit. Because we are talking about people I haven't heard really dealing with the serious issues of the continent or the world. If people are still avoiding discussing the truth about what needs to be done, and then go there just to go. Because I believe that if there was an issue, we wanted to go there, we must go there honestly, and we must be able to say the wrong is wrong. Once the Western countries feel these ones now are becoming too big for their size, they will come in. And they've done so in Africa, came in on a number of times. Just before Gaddafi was killed, I was the last president who went to his country. I went there to talk to him when NATO was bombarding that country. In fact, I was given instructions as the president of this country that you fly this way, you lower your trip, and people come from Europe, tell us in Africa, and we are in charge. That tells you the story of this continent. At the end, he was killed because he was very clear about Africa. And the Western countries did not want it, and they killed him. That's a reality we have. I think Africa, at this time, we've reached a point that we can, in fact, come together. We can, in fact, put Africa into our hands and develop it. The obstacle is the big countries, former colonizers in particular.
The West.
The West, who would want to keep Africa down so that they are able to benefit from Africa, to control Africa. What is left is that Africa should come together, and it's better to have a country, Africa, under our control, with our resources in our hands. You cannot, if you look at the history of Africa, try to argue that Africa is good, blah, 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 when you have countries that are still calling themselves mother body countries. It's a difficult thing. I think Africa has reached the point. As you said, I was in Ghana. I think the discussion that we had with the leadership in Ghana is a kind of a discussion that has not happened in the past. The manner in which we see Africa, how we want Africa to be under its control, how Africa must benefit from the riches of the continent. I think the debate is changing, and it is a matter of time that Africa, one of these days, is going to be different. Let me just make the point here. When the former colonizing countries were faced with the issue of how to control Africa, they then concocted what was called coup d'etats, wherein they will plan, once in their countries, how to remove the leaders in Africa so that they put their own puppets. It took a long time. As a result, what is called a coup d'etat was hated, because how to take such good leaders like Kwame Nkrumah, and there are many others. But it was initiated by the colonizers. They will buy people so that people are able to kill their brothers for their own interests. You know what has happened now? There are few coup d'etats that have just happened. As a result of that kind of coup d'etats that happened, people today don't see the difference between those coup d'etats and this one. But the coup d'etats that have taken place now are saying to France, enough is enough. Take your
Troops.
troops, our money must be here. If we were not misled, we would not be saying we cannot take these people as ours because it's a coup d'etat. It's just a name. They don't understand. These young people are saying enough is enough. That tells you where Africa is going. We are saying let that belongs to Africa to come and remain in Africa. And it's correct. What has been done is absolutely correct. Why should the French forces be sitting in Africa? Why should the money be brought from France to feed us when we have got our own? That tells you that the car is turning the corner. It is a reality, it is there. I have a clear understanding of what is happening. The coups of today are not like the coups which were defeating the ends of Africa processed by Europeans. It's a coup d'etat of the Africans defending themselves, taking themselves out of the kind of what these colonies have done to us. But some of us, even in Africa, we don't see it. We still want to put them away. They're doing the wrong thing, blah, blah, blah. No. They are actually taking the struggle to liberate Africa again. And me, I support it, I can tell you. Unless it is a kind of a coup d'etat like the ones before. These ones are saying, let Africa look after itself. Simple. The question of communication has been mastered by the Western countries many, many, many years ago. And many good things have been put aside by the media, always. I think Africa has, in fact, do more quicker to stand on our own, to tell our own stories, to tell the stories of those we think they are not doing the right thing. The problem is that the domination of the Western world media has been there for centuries. Many people think it is like things that were made by God or 10 commandments when it is not. I think our time has come that we should stand on our own, tell our own stories, not fear to tell the truth. That gold, that resources come from our country. They belong to us. We are afraid to say so. Our media is afraid because they think this belongs to them. Who gave them? Were they given by God or took it by force, whatever? Now, if, in my view, we have not reached that point to tell the truth as it is, yes, it may be fine that we are beginning to do something, but man, I want us to tell the truth